lovely day!
Welcome to FED Toe Tag Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, our presentation comes to you courtesy of Quantum Eraser, so I'll say a very quick hello to you first and foremost. How are you doing, QE?
Hello, sir.
Hello, hello. Now, we do have a panel of both Discord and Google Plus participants, so feel free to say hello because you're going to go on mute in a moment for this presentation, but this is your chance to say hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Get it all out, get it all out.
Good afternoon.
Earth is flat.
Excellent outbursts. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so today's presentation is going to be about George Netanyahu. So he had a back and forth mono on Jose JG Gonzalez channel. Shout out to him for hosting it. And that's now going to get ripped a new one by Quantum Eraser. So let me know when you're ready and I'll present your screen.
You mean the one with Riley?
Oh, that was an excellent reminder from Arwin.
Or was it the previous one?
Took 20 seconds before an interruption came.
You're welcome.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
I got a question. Are you going to let those guys talk afterwards? Or...
Absolutely. Yeah, once the toe tag's concluded, we'll get some comments on the toe tag. I'll round out the live show, and then it'll continue in what has already been an after show for a different show that's not related to the live show. So, you know, we'll continue afterwards. But once the toe tag's done and it's been discussed, that's where the live show will end, and I'll thank the live audience.
Okay. Yeah, you don't have to share my screen. Just don't play this yet, but just go to the play section at 2:17:19.
You say don't play it yet. I'm ready to do whatever you say, but it's, you know, I'll cue it when it's ready to be played, if that makes sense. It's already all queued up.
Yeah, you could go ahead and put that on screen because I think it's really important that we also get the visuals. So I want you to play every section. You know, go to your screen playing the video because it's really important that you see him while he's talking. I mean, that's 80% of it, if you could believe it. But this is the biggest pile of convoluted Elmer Fudd sophist rambling, insane, inane horseshit ever uttered. I'm serious. There's a 5-minute monologue here, just droning and rambling like an imbecile. It's unbelievable. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. But when I seen it, I said, oh, okay, now I got it. I see the problem. So let's go ahead and get into it. Go ahead and play from 2:17:19 and stop at 2:19:02.
How does the consequence of the curvature of space-time act as a force by reducing the kinetic energy from the escaping velocity of the gas particles?
I'll be right with you. I'm getting a drink.
Thank you guys for keeping this cool and stable. I see. It's all good.
Sorry about that. I was listening to you. I have it on external speakers, and I was just filling up my glass. Yeah. Okay. Now, gravity, unfortunately, is used synonymous with the force of gravity in lay terms, and it is. I see people quoting this interview that was done with George Muser.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
No, I'm saying it all lends to this issue. Einstein, in the general theory of relativity, referred to the warpature of space-time as explaining the motions that we see. He calls that gravity. That is not a force. Unfortunately, gravity has been used synonymously with force, and it is not. Gravity is the umbrella that encompasses the general relativity theory. He calls that gravity. That theory is called gravity. The bending of space-time is gravity.
All right, you can flip over to me.
Okay.
You know, we'll do the same thing in that vein that we always do. You can flip back over. So, the question from Anthony: how does the consequence of the curvature of spacetime act as a force by reducing the kinetic energy from the escape velocity of the gas particles? So that's the question now. So we got Georgie Tatonka. So gravity, unfortunately, is used synonymous with the force of gravity in lay terms. And it is, I see people quoting this interview that was done by George Musser. It all lends to this issue. Einstein, in the general theory of relativity, referred to the warpature of space-time as explaining the motions that we see. He calls that gravity. That is not a force. Unfortunately, gravity has been used synonymously with force, and it is not. All right? Gravity is the umbrella that encompasses the general relativity theory. He calls that gravity. That theory is called gravity. The bending of space-time is gravity. So, gravity is not a force 2 times. General theory of relativity is warpature of space-time. And what the hell is warpature, pray tell? C, unfortunately, gravity has been used synonymously with a force and is not. And D, you haven't addressed Anthony's question. See, he didn't address his question yet. Continue. Play from 2:19:02. Stop at 2:19:46. Showing him.
Now, in our world, that gets projected down as a force. We experience it as a force. There's a force field that results as this bending of space-time. The bending of space-time is not the force itself. It manifests itself as a force in our world. We call that the force of gravity or gravitational force. That is not gravity. Gravity is the all-encompassing theory of general relativity. Gravity is not a force. And I think
Okay.
So, Georgie Tatonka. Now, in our world, that gets projected down as a force. We experience as a force. There's a force field that results as this bending of space-time. The bending of space-time is not the force itself. The bending of space-time, manifests itself as a force in our world. We call that force of gravity or gravitational force. That is not gravity. Gravity is the all-encompassing theory of general relativity. Gravity is not a force. So, what gets projected down as a force, Georgie Tatonka? Then down from where? We experience what as a force? Number 3, so there's a force field that results from the bending of space-time, warpature, if you will. And how can the bending of space-time not be the force, but manifest itself as a force in this world? And are you implying 2 or more separate worlds here, by chance? Number 6, the bending of space-time is the force of gravity or a gravitational force. Number 7, so the force of gravity or the gravitational force isn't gravity? Gravity is the theory of general relativity. But gravity is not a force. Now we have a total times 3. And number 10, you still haven't addressed Anthony's question yet. So, summary from both iterations above. Gravity is not a force or the gravitational force 5 times. Number 2, the force Force field gravitational force results from the bending of space-time, warpature, again, if you will, and manifests itself as a force in this world. But it isn't a force? Question, how can something manifest itself as Z and not BZ? And you haven't addressed Anthony's question yet. P.S. Georgie, Tatonka, he says the bending of space-time is the force of gravity or gravitational force. Meanwhile, over at Cornell University, Joylyn Bloomfield, PhD physics, says Einstein said there is no such thing as a gravitational force. So I don't know where you're getting this from. Are you making this shit up? Are you from MSU? Quick stop. Play from 2:19:46 to 2:20:08, please.
This is where the confusion is coming in. When Musser said gravity is not a force, he is thinking in terms of his colleagues that he's used to speaking with that understand this all-encompassing theory of general relativity. Yes, gravity is not a force. That is a theory. That's like saying
Okay.
Georgie Tatonka. Now I think this is where the confusion is coming in. Yeah, from you. Number two, when Musser said gravity is not, George is saying this, when Musser said gravity is not a force, he's thinking in terms of his colleagues that he's used to speaking with that understand this all-encompassing theory of general relativity. And Georgie again, yes, gravity is not a force. That is a theory. So let me just say this, folks. Georgie, you need to be institutionalized immediately. Number two, how do you know what Musser's thinking? Must be those special Evo mind powers that Gimp Panda Soundly and Rumpus have executed. And still on number two, do you know Musser's colleagues and what they speak of and what they understand? Have you considered carnival as a vocation, sir? Number three, so gravity is not a force. That's the fourth time you mentioned this. And you still have yet to address Anthony's question. He now strays a little bit. Quick stop this one. Go ahead and play from 2:20:08. Stop at 2:20:16.
electromagnetism is not a force. No, electromagnetism is not a force. We have electromagnetic forces.
Okay.
So, Georgie Tatonka, that's like saying magnetism is not a force. No, electromagnetism is not a force. Number three, we have the electromagnetic forces. This is scary, insane, Dunning-Kruger retard, folks. Just this. Preposterous. I can't believe he said that. Continue 2:20:08, stop at 2:20:48.
Saying electromagnetism is not a force. No, electromagnetism is not a force. We have electromagnetic forces, or we have electric forces, electrostatic forces, we have magnetostatic forces, magnetic forces. But the encompassing theory is called electromagnetism, just like gravity is the manifestation of space-time, and from that results the gravitational forces that we experience here on Earth. We can describe what is happening in our world by using what we call forces.
Okay.
Georgie Tatonka, we have electric forces, we have electrostatic forces, we have magnetostatic forces, magnetic forces, but the all-encompassing theory is called electromagnetism. Just like gravity is the manifestation of space-time, and from that results the gravitational forces that we experience here on Earth. We can describe what is happening in our world by using what we call forces. You're off the wall false equivalence fallacy here and a non sequitur. It's not that the conclusion didn't follow from its premise. There wasn't a conclusion. And you're still saying this manifestation of space-time, and that results in gravitational forces. But we just seen from Cornell University that Einstein said that there are no gravitational forces. And he's the one that dreamed up space-time. So where did you get that? Also, the false equivalence, you use electric forces, electrostatic forces, magnetostatic forces, and magnetic forces. These are all forces that make up the electromagnetism. Where's that with gravity? There's nothing here. You just conjure this. Just monologuing inanely. All right, continue. Play from 220:48 to 222:24, please.
The results are very the Newton's laws are just a subset of the general relativity. If you go into Einstein's field equations, you put in the conditions where you're dealing with velocities much less than the speed of light, like we're experiencing here on Earth, where we're, 1,000th, 10,000th of 100,000th of the speed of light, and we're dealing with masses, less than galaxy size, like masses of the Earth. Mass of the Earth is on the order of I forgot, around 10 to the 28th kilograms, I think it is, something like that. And so as long as we're dealing with masses like, cars, big rocks, stones, and things like that, Newton's laws are perfectly acceptable. The gravitational field equations that Einstein developed reduced to Newton's laws in these conditions. And so the description of our world using Newtonian mechanics is perfectly valid. I can use Newtonian mechanics.
Stop it.
Jose, it's a monologue.
Yeah, this. Go ahead. Am I up?
You are?
Yeah. So now remember, folks, Anthony asked him a question. We're still on the monologue. We haven't stopped. So you come out with this nonsense, right? So, Georgie, the results are very sim. The Newton's laws are just a subset of general relativity. This is nonsense, folks. Number one, scientific theories, actual ones, never, ever subset natural laws. It's inane. You'd fail 5th grade general science right here. Newtonian gravity and Einsteinian gravity are mutually exclusive. Number two, Newtonian gravity is a force. Einsteinian gravity is not a force. 3, Newtonian, the law of superposition applies. Einsteinian, the law of superposition does not apply. Number 4, they're not even in the same geometry, for crying out loud. Newtonian gravity is Euclidean 3 space, whereas Einsteinian gravity is pseudo-Riemannian 4 space. Newtonian gravity speaks to instantaneous actions at a distance. Einsteinian gravity is limited to the speed of light. Folks, drunken sailors and field goal posts have more in common than Newton's and Einstein's fairy tales. Number 2, Georgie says, if you go into Einstein's field equations, you put in the conditions where you're dealing with velocities much less than the speed of light, like we're experiencing here on Earth, and we were 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 the speed of light, and we're dealing with masses less than the galaxy size, like masses of the Earth. Mass of the Earth is on the order of what I forgot, around 10 to the 28th kilograms. I think it's something like that. And so as long as we're dealing with masses like, cars, big rocks, and things like that, Newton's laws are perfectly acceptable. Number 1, overall horseshit non sequitur fallacy. The premise here, hypothetical using of Einstein's field equations. The conclusion, just use Newton's laws. Makes no sense. Number two, as soon as you invoke two or more masses, Einstein's equations go in the shit can, sir. There are no known solutions for any of Einstein's field equations for two or more masses. PC, I don't think you understand the gravity of the situation here, sir, or the people in the audience. If you have two or more masses, like in their paradigm, if you look up in their paradigm, is there two or more masses up there? Yeah. Guess what? You can't use Einstein's field equations. For goodness sakes, people. From their alma mater wiki, they tell you straight up, as the field equations are nonlinear, we'll get back to that little gem in a minute, they can't always be completely solved, i.e. without making approximations. For example, there is no known complete solution for a space-time with two massive bodies in it, which is a theoretical model of a binary system. But yeah, right. Do you guys get this? Do you guys understand this? I'm talking to the audience, not to the friggin' globetards and the Einsteinian knuckleheads. You got to understand this, man. When they appeal to Einstein and his general theory of relativity, this is a belly laughing joke. P.S. You see that nonlinear up there? Up yonder? That means the law of superposition does not hold, like I spoke about before. That is, you can't arbitrarily add additional masses to any of Einstein's field equations. Why? Because you can't solve them with two or more. That's why the law of superposition doesn't hold. With Newtonian mechanics, yeah, you can, in principle, you can. It'd be impossible to figure it out, but there's no reason why you can't add additional masses. So, Einstein's field equations describe a universe with only one mass or a completely empty friggin' universe. I don't know about you, but when I look up, empty doesn't strike me as something that I would think of. My word. PS2, just like there are no married bachelors, there are no scientific theory equations. Hope you all understand that. Here we go again, Georgie. The gravitational field equations that Einstein developed reduce to Newton's laws in these conditions. Horseshit. And thanks again. We could go over this again. Scientific theories, actual ones, never, ever, ever reduce to natural laws. It's inane buffoonery. Newtonian gravity and Einsteinian gravity are mutually exclusive. This is a well-da. Here's some of the reasons. Newtonian gravity is a force. Einsteinian gravity is not a force. Newtonian, like I just said above, the law of superposition applies. Einsteinian, the law of superposition does not apply. Number 4, they're not even in the same geometry, for crying out loud. Newtonian gravity is Euclidean 3 space, whereas Einsteinian gravity is pseudo-Riemannian 4 space. Newtonian gravity is instantaneous actions at a distance. Einsteinian gravity is limited to the speed of light. Drunken sailors and field goal posts have more in common than Newton's and Einstein's fairy tales. And, by the way, you still haven't answered Anthony's question. So we're going to continue with the monologue, play from 2:22:24, stop at 2:22:53, please.
We'll get a little bit before, but don't worry about it.
Log.
I was waiting till George finishes.
Made
I
many
tell
points.
you both, like, try to keep an eye on your own timer when you start addressing a comment. Try to keep it like 2 minutes short, to go back and forth.
Okay. Sorry. Just long story short here. You can use Newtonian mechanics. You can take a baseball, throw it at an angle of 30 degrees with respect to the horizontal at, say, 30 meters per second. And using Newtonian mechanics, I can tell you to a high degree of accuracy where it's going to land on the Earth. It works perfectly fine.
Okay.
So after 5 minutes of imbecilic monologue, even they tell him, okay, that's enough. And then he just continues even further. Sorry, just a long story short here. Yeah. You can use Newtonian mechanics. You can take a baseball, throw it at an angle of 30 degrees with respect to the horizontal at, say, 30 meters per second. And using Newtonian mechanics, I can tell you with a high degree of accuracy where it's going to land on the Earth. It works perfectly fine. Frigging scary. You're an imbecile of megalithic proportions that should be institutionalized and rubber-roomed immediately. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I wouldn't trust this booger eater to open a lemon drop wrapper without endangering himself and or others. And you still haven't answered Anthony's friggin' question yet. We got a PS. Quick stop. Play from 2:15:48. Stop at 2:16:01.
Potential energy. The potential energy gets converted into kinetic energy. This is the second law of thermodynamics, that energy can be neither created nor destroyed. Energy is always conserved.
Okay.
Thank you. Georgie Tatanka. The potential energy gets converted to kinetic energy. This is the second law of thermodynamics, that energy can't be created nor destroyed. Energy is always conserved. I was shocked. Number one, that's not the second law of thermodynamics, Georgie Tatanka. He said energy can't be created nor destroyed. That's the first law of thermodynamics, sir. The second law of thermodynamics isn't a conservation law. And laughing my friggin' butt off. Potential energy has nothing to do with the first law. From Chem Libre Text. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy can be converted from one form to another with the interaction of heat, work, and internal energy, but it cannot be created nor destroyed under any circumstances. Mathematically, this is represented as the change in U equals Q plus W. The change in U is the total change in the internal energy of the system. The Q is the heat exchange between the system and its surroundings, and W is the work done by or on the system. So I don't know. Are you on medication or something? You just compromised yourself big time with this one, brother. Like you didn't up above, but this is just a cherry on top. You're a stone cold Dunning-Kruger retard. So let's get some from the rumpus. Quick stop, play 2:52:21. Stop 2:52:26, please.
In Einstein's theory, gravity is not a force, but rather the consequence of the fact that matter warps space-time. That does not address how the atmosphere of the Earth.
And what does the first part of that article we've just gone over? Gravity is one of the four fundamental forces. Gravity is one of the fundamental forces, Anthony.
Is that the right bit?
Yes. We good?
Yep.
So the rumpus, Mr. Air, is not the atmosphere. Gravity is one of the four fundamental forces. Wrong-o-rama, you doofus. They're from their alma mater wiki. The standard model of particle physics is a theory describing three of the four known fundamental forces: the electromagnetic, weak, and strong interactions, and not including the gravitational force. So the standard model doesn't deal with gravitational. It doesn't treat it as gravitation or a force. It just doesn't. We're just not going to talk about it. This is a joke in the universe, as well as classifying as all known elementary particles. So I don't know where you're getting this from. Probably just sitting in a physics class, just memorizing and regurgitating. Just keep on telling me. Yeah. I'll write it down now. Remember, I'll use a mnemonic. Frigging clowns. And we got to top it off with this. This is real short. Make sure you turn it up real loud. I want everyone to hear this one. I'm not going to show it to you. Go. Oh, am I going to have to show it to you? No. Play from 253.18 to 253.25.
There are two separate
Right, you're
things
rumpusing,
here.
aren't you?
No,
Because you know.
you're interrupting me.
No, you're rumpusing, aren't you?
No, you're
This is
rumpusing
what
me.
Sean thinks.
Oh boy. So, are we up?
You are.
The creme de la creme. Rumpus, Mr. Air is not the atmosphere, charging Anthony with rumpusing him. I just thought I'd leave you with that. Enjoy. Thanks for your ear. Have a nice day.
And with that, I'll say, if you are watching on either the Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you are watching this live, then unfortunately this is where we will bid you farewell. So a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you tuned in, smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. A massive thank you to Quantum Eraser for making this presentation possible. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!